Alright, so Zulu Training Day is going to cover our airdrop procedures. That's one of the things you took away from last mission is the rehearsal. So we probably should touch up on those and just make sure that we get some practice on it. We'll also go through some of the changes in the mod pack and cover all the different crates that we can deliver. The first thing that we learned from last week's mission is we need to prioritize resupplies, especially those that were pre-planned. This week has another pre-planned resupply. That's why the rehearsal had one built in. So we want to make sure whoever is the squad lead prioritizes the Zulu tasks based on the mission and Zero Alpha's requests. So this coming week, the pre-planned resupply drop should mean that the DAP should have the supplies on board and holding. And even if there's reinserts, if the time is coming up where you know within the next couple minutes you're going to have to do the supply drop, it may be best to let those reinserts wait. Additionally, if you return to base to refuel or rearm or pick up reinserts, understand that we don't want to hang around at base for 10-15 minutes. We want to go ahead and get airborne, even if we maybe can't find someone or even if we're not sure if we're waiting on someone. Just go ahead and get back airborne, especially if it's a short flight. If it's a 15 to 20 click flight like it was on Altus, that's a little more understandable for waiting and making sure you have everyone and everything you need. But if it's only a 5 or 6 click flight, that's 2 minutes of game time. So we want to try to stay on
User joined your channel.
as much as we can. Who just joined? I can't see.
Richard.
Oh,
Hello.
Richard. Awesome. So yeah, I think that's some takeaways from our dress rehearsal. Just try to make sure we're prioritizing what our jobs are at the time and being on station when needed. So this week when we have that pre-planned airdrop, whoever is running the DAP should have a general and a medical preloaded. That's going to be part of the op board, and they're going to hold off the coast. And whenever it's come time, and they can pick up reinserts until we get to the point where the city's about to be secure. As we notice that that city's becoming under secure, 1AA presence, and that our forces have moved through a majority of the city, we probably at that point don't want to RTB. We want to hold. We want to be ready to come in as soon as we're called in. Pre-planned airdrops, we really want to minimize that time to just about 2 or 3 minutes. Then we can go back to base, get reinserts, rearm, refuel, whatever we need to do. So let's go ahead and go through the different supplies that we've got here. First of all, step 1 is observe the newest member of the 1AA fleet, DAP number 3. You can also see that we've added stripes to the DAP, so they're more easily identifiable. So you can see 3 stripes on the tail of this one. We also have 2 and 1 stripes on the other. If you glance off over to the runway there, we also have the other new addition, which is a second Chinook, and you can see those also have the stripes for 1 and 2 as well. We have the Chinook can be converted to both passenger and VIV. So there's now 4 models. There's Chinook number 1 is a passenger VIV, and then there's Chinook number 2 is a passenger or VIV. So as part of our growth and as part of the new mod pack, we expanded our fleet. So that brings us up to 4 Little Birds, 3 DAPs, 2 Chinooks, 2 Blackfishes, 2 Vipers, and there's really no set number of drones, but as a general rule, we've kind of said 3 has been our drone count. So that is now our fleet size. So let's go over our crates. So the first crate we have here is going to be our medical sand. So this will be used for desert maps. We also have medical foliage. They have the exact same contents. If you've never looked in one, go ahead and look in one. Although, there we go. And you can see that it's fully loaded, and there's a lot of supplies in here. This should very easily make Themilus and his fellow medics very happy, because it's not like it's got 10 bandages and 3 salines in it. This thing is fully loaded, can completely kit out the entire first air assault asset. So when it comes to medical, there's really no need to ever drop 2. 1 drop, you should be good. Moving on to the ammo, the block one, if we open this one up, you can see it's got some Hunt IR, stuns, grenades. It's got 1 demo block with a firing device to destroy something like a helicopter or a resupply cache. However, notice the ammo in it. It's not a lot. It's only 10 rounds for the 2-4 guys and the 1-4 guys, your gunner, and only 38 magazines for your normal rifleman. Which 38 sounds like a lot until you have 20 people on the ground. That's only 2 magazines a person. So if you're doing an ammunition resupply, especially if you're doing it and you know that the whole squad needs it, you may want to bring 2. Or at least ask, do you want 1 or do you want 2? So big difference between the medical and the ammo. The medical can completely cover all of our needs. The ammo may not. So that ammo crate, you may need to bring 2 of them, or bring this next item up on the list, which is the general. If you've never looked in the general, take a peek. It's got everything that we could possibly need. It's got MAWs with sights, Titans, MPRLs, all variants of the M136, mortars, GPS, tablets, earplugs, cable ties. I know sometimes we've run out of cable ties with hostages. This is how you bring more. It's got Fulton lights, tons of ammunition, right? 200 rounds, really 220 rounds, plus 50 rounds for the gunners. Lots of smoke and grenades. Everything we could possibly need, mines, UAVs, etc. However, does anyone know the one big disadvantage of dropping this?
It has a lot of space. It takes up a lot of space in the helo, and it's just maybe you need to sling load it if you have these medical crates in the helo.
Yep, so there's number one. You might have to sling load it. It takes up a lot of space. What about for the ground forces? What's the disadvantage?
Can't be moved.
Can't be moved. Yep. So we can drag those medical and those ammo crates, those little dummy things. You can drag them. You can position them in a compound. If we drop them in a field, they can easily drag them somewhere, load them in an LSV, etc. These ammo generals are a lot bigger of a pain to deal with. They're harder. They cannot be moved. To be honest with you, I don't. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think they can be loaded in an LSV either. Has anyone tried?
The big one? No.
Yeah, as I would say, I don't think you could load this in an LSV. So if we are doing a running paradrop where it's a hostile area and we're just going to drop while doing about 50 kilometers an hour into a field and make them go get it, while this is a great thing for ammunition, they can't go get it and take it with them. They would have to dispatch forces to this to resupply. So if we're going to have to do a paradrop where, yeah, if someone wants to jump in that LSV and pull it up and see if it'll actually load up, I'm 90% sure it won't. So if we're going to do a paradrop moving, we're doing 50, 60 kilometers an hour, and we're not going to stop, and we're just going to drop this in a field, we really don't need to be dropping the general crate unless it's not hostile. But truth be told, if it's not hostile, why are we doing a moving paradrop? So just something to consider. This is really only a good option if they're stationary and you can go stationary and they need a lot of supplies. So for this Sunday, they do meet that criteria. It's going to be in a city after it's been secured. Forces won't be moving, and they're going to need a lot of supplies. So this Sunday, we are going to utilize the general airdrop. Now this guy right here is the support supplies. The support supplies, if you've never looked in it, it's almost like a general, except it doesn't really have as much of each item. It's not as varied. So the support supplies has things like sandbags. So if we need to provide sandbags for them, we'll give them that. If you need mortars or MAWs, notice it doesn't have M136s though. So this is kind of more of our heavy support crate. UAVs, MAWs with sights, all the different various shots for the mortar with additional mortars, additional MAWs rounds, entrenching tools and sandbags. So it does have ammunition, as you can see. It's got 100 rounds of 7.62. I don't believe I saw any gunner ammo. No, I didn't see any gunner ammo. So no gunner ammo on this one. So pay attention which one they're requesting for. Zero Alpha and Squad Lead should know the difference between these two crates. If they don't, that's a problem that they need to correct, because requesting a support crate is a lot different than requesting a general crate. So something to keep in mind. This one
would be something that Alpha would request.
Exactly. This is kind of custom tailored for Alpha specifically. Any squad can request it, but this is pretty much Alpha's personal crate, especially if they're going to set up a field HQ somewhere for an extended period of time. They can get sandbags going, and they don't have to carry that stuff in. So they secure the HQ, get a good perimeter, and then you fly over and drop this bad boy off. This one can be loaded into the Weasel, and I think the LSV as well, so Alpha can take this with them, but it cannot be dragged. And then finally, another new addition to the mod pack. If you come to the helicopter and open up the inventory, you will notice new go bags. So go ahead and drag one out.
Yeah, I had a question about this. I can repair the helo even though I don't have a toolkit in the go bag or with me.
Yep, that is the ACE settings. We removed the toolkit because it wasn't required by ACE. and it was just taking up space. So we elected to just remove it, and we added in a few extra additional magazines and a few extra medical items. We didn't want to go crazy and just load you up, but what we did add we thought was a pretty reasonable amount. So you've got 2 smokes, 4 magazines, some tourniquets, 4 splints, because if you're in a helicopter crash, you're probably going to break a lot of bones, and then the elastic bandages. Also, the demo blocks are still in the helicopter. They're not in the bag. Another big difference with this is now a long-range radio. So if you do crash and go down, you have a nice long-range radio that you can communicate with Zulu with, or try to get in touch with command. So new difference with the Zulu bag. All right, so any questions about things we've covered so far? Cool. So let's get into the actual airdrop part of it. So we've got a couple different ways that we can airdrop. We can sling load. I personally hate sling loading. The servers hate sling loading. Sling loading is the bane of our existence, which sucks because it's nice to be able to not have to land, to just pick things up. Sling loading does work, but we typically have to go very slow. It doesn't work well if you have people in a vehicle being sling loaded. And with desync, if it's a buggy map or a laggy day on your server or your internet, it could cause some problems where it disconnects. So just keep that in mind. If you're going to sling load something, good luck. I'm not saying not to do it. I'm just saying be very careful. Recognize if you're having a buggy, desyncy kind of game experience, and if so, probably don't sling load that day. Alternative to sling loading is we have Airdrop, and we have just a land and deliver. So either way, with those systems, we're going to load up whatever equipment we want on the DAP. So in this case, I'm going to load up a general and a medical. So walk up to the general. We're going to do interact, load, DAP. So I'm loading it up right now. It takes about 10 seconds to do, and you cannot move. So if you're trying to load this stuff up under fire, if you're trying to extract supplies from the field, you're going to need some cover. It takes a hot minute for you to do this. And if someone else wants to load up the medical crate, cool. So this is how it's going to be for our mission on Sunday. We'll have 1 general and 1 medical preloaded in, good to go. You're going to do this on both DAPs. That way, in case the DAP gets shot down prior to the resupply, the other one's ready to go. As a rule of thumb, as Zulu, it's probably good to have this setup right here. A general and a medical, or at least an ammo and a medical already preloaded. That way, if Zero Alpha requests resupply during a mission, you don't have to fly all the way back to pick stuff up. That's up to your Zero Squad lead, whoever's...
So, I got a question.
Yeah.
Does anyone know if the cargo affects the handling of the helicopter in any way?
Yes, you cannot control it, and it pitches up, and the helo naturally pitches up, so you need to counter that before you start unloading, if you're moving at pretty high speed.
So are you saying, Philip, when you're doing the unload function, or when you're just flying around at all?
When you're just flying around, if the cargo kind of affects how the helicopter handles.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, I think it does, but it's not enough to notice it. With the sling loading, it's more noticeable. I think it just adds weight to the helicopter, but without the advanced flight model, weight isn't a huge impact on performance. I personally have never really noticed a difference in handling that much, I would say. Is anyone else? I mean...
No.
Yeah. Okay, so we got it loaded up. The first thing we can do is we can fly somewhere, we can land, we can jump out, interact with the helicopter, and we can unload it. That's really great if we have the space to do it, we have the time to do it, and we're not taking shots. Plenty of room is obviously necessary, and you would want a squad there to cover you while you do this, so you're going to put it down somewhere that is already held. If you are taking some pot shots from a distance, it also might be good to land, because you would then have the buildings and terrain as cover. But what you don't want to do is land in the middle of a field that is surrounded by enemy and then start unloading, right? So don't make me say that just because you're taking rounds, don't land. Sometimes landing, if you're taking rounds, is a good option. Just make sure that it's not in your immediate area, and make sure you have good security around you before you decide to land. So you're going to coordinate that with whatever squad is requesting the resupply, or Zero Alpha. Alternatively, we can paradrop, and there's two methods to do the paradrop. You can come stationary hover and kick it out. That's the preferred method. Or you can do it while moving. The only time we really want to do a moving paradrop is if there's a lot of contact and we're not able to really hover and do the offload, and they really need supplies. Typically, we'll drop it behind friendly forces, so well behind and away from enemies, and then the friendly forces would move to the rear, locate the target, and pull it back out. We had that happen. I forget the name of the mission, but it was one of Rich's missions on the winter map where they just became bogged down in a cabin. They just really needed ammo, and there were so many enemies, we had no chance of actually getting them a good, hover drop. So we just flew over a field that was just behind them, dropped it in the field, and got out of there before we got shot down. So that is an option. Recommend 30 to 50 kilometers an hour is a good movement speed. And like James said, make sure while you're unloading, you can't move the helicopter. If you're single pilot doing this all by yourself, you can't do anything with the helicopter. So make sure you pitch down just slightly before you actually start the offload. And if you're going to do a moving one, I would only do medical and ammo, because 15 seconds without being able to control your helicopter is a long time. Note that if you want to drop it in a field, it takes 5 to 10 seconds to offload these things, so you need to start 5 to 10 seconds before you want your piece to get kicked out. If you wait till the middle of the field, it'll probably drop in the woods by the time it actually finishes the loading. So once you're over your target, once you are approximately 5 to 10 seconds over your target, that's when you would start the offload process. So you definitely have to lead it. If you have two pilots, you can unlock the controls, and then it's not as big of a deal, because one can still fly while the cargo is being offloaded by the other person. So preferred method, hover, kick it out the back, or land and offload. Alternatively, if you're feeling gutsy, we can sling load, or under unusual situations, we would do a running paradrop. We want to be at a high enough altitude to let the chute actually deploy, or a low enough altitude where it doesn't matter. So if you're kicking something out at 5 to 10 meters, that the chute's not going to deploy, but it doesn't need to. It's low enough, it's not going to damage the crate. If you're above 8 to 10 meters, that like 10 to 30 meter mark is where it gets kind of hairy. Above 30 meters, the chute will deploy enough to minimize its impact. 50 meters is a good altitude as well. That gives it time to properly deploy, float down, and land. Note, though, the higher you are, the more drift that will take place with the wind. So you don't want to be at 300 meters trying to do an airdrop of supplies. It'll end up 2 cities over. So, all right, the other thing to note is it doesn't just come out the side door. It gets kicked out the back, and it gets kicked out, I don't want to say far, but it gets kicked out a decent amount. I'd say maybe 5 to 10 meters. The vehicles in the Chinook get kicked out a little more. They're maybe 10 to 15 meters out the back. These crates get kicked out kind of at the back of the tail rotor and like another 5 meters. So if you are doing a hovering paradrop, you want to make sure that you put the tail more centered on where you want the crate to land. So that's what we're going to practice with today. You're going to practice offloading a general crate, offloading a medical supply crate, and delivering a vehicle in the Chinook. So how we'll do this is we'll do it as a rotation. I'll assign each of you a helicopter and your initial assignment. And we'll do it, actually we'll just do it all together, because that way we can kind of watch and see and adjust. So we'll do all the general together, then we'll go down and do the medical, come back, hop in the Chinook, and then I'll go do the delivery method as well. However, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to jump in this thing right here and demonstrate to you how far back, while you're looking at the ground, it gets kicked out. And the reason I want you to see it on the ground is because a lot of times, I think 2 or 3 times now in missions, Zulu's been attached to ground forces and then been asked to coordinate drops and pickups. Remember the mission, I think it was my mission actually, where we were extracting vehicles out of the embassy, and Zulu was attached, I think, with Alpha, coordinating that on the ground. So I want you guys to see what it's like on the ground, how far it gets kicked out, so you can see how far forward the helicopter needs to be, both as a pilot and if you're coordinating with ground forces attached to them. So let me jump in and I'll kick one out. forgot my joystick's done. Struggling because my joystick, if I don't press shift to like lock it before I start to offload, it kills all my thrust, and I'm getting that stupid unlevel flight thing. So let me fly away and come back and see if it resets.
Do you want one of us to hop in and you can unload it?
Yeah, if it doesn't work this time, I'll do that. So I had two challenges with that. Challenge number one is, I don't know if anyone else uses a joystick, but for me, when I open up the cargo, or if like I go into the map or something, it kills all my thrust on my joystick. So I have to remember to press shift to like use the keyboard to set the thrust, I guess. And then the second problem I had was that unlevel flight error. So has anyone ever gotten the unlevel flight error?
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but I think it should be something either with altitude or with descending or changing course. Like,
yeah, I found two things solve it for me. Either I need to fly around for a minute and then re-level, or I need to go to higher altitude. So that drop is at about 35, 40 meters. So if you're getting that bug trying to drop it, I recommend just climb to a higher altitude, see if it works then. So, yeah. But you saw it kicks it out about, I don't know, I'm American, so meters are hard for me, but what is this, like maybe 3 to 5 meters behind, give or take?
Yeah.
So it's not horrendous.
Say 1 or 2, but okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not what, like I said, I use yards. To me, that's like 1.5 yards. So anyways, the LSV you'll find when you get in the Chinook, it kicks it out significantly further behind. It would be more like where we're standing right here. So I would say this is maybe 5-ish meters. I don't know. You'll see that when you do the Chinook. So any questions? What we're going to do now, we're going to all go to adapt. I want us to load up a general. You'll see a medical. Drag it over so you can practice dragging. Drag it over to your helicopter and load that up. And then we'll form up in a formation in a HUD order. So we'll have James lead us over and start with the general crate drop-off. So go to adapt. Everyone on channel 35, load up a general, drag and load up a medical, and then we'll form up, okay?
Yep.
I'll just use this one.
Still uploaded.
Zach's loaded.
James is loaded and on long range.
Dexter loaded.
Richard loaded.
Copy, all loaded. Zach to James, you want to lift off, and we'll form up on you. It's a pretty short flight, so we can just do slow speeds, but you can call it out. We'll form up on you.
Copy. So we're going along the line, or going first to general vehicle and medical supply.
Just direct to the general crate, and once we get there, hold a couple 100 meters away, and we'll kind of form a line facing the general crate.
Copy.
Put a red mark on the map for an approximate hold point. Doesn't have to be exactly there, just an estimate.
Okay, James is lifting off. I'm gonna pop flares and we can just do a column at 50 meters altitude and let's face southwest first. Zach, you can be the last one. Philip, you can be one behind me, Richard, two behind me, Dexter, three behind me, and Zach behind me.
Philip. Richard.
Dexter.
Philip lifting.
Dexter lifting.
Zach, you good there?
Great training when the squad leader crashes because he's not paying attention. Just disregard that.
Temperature information.
Dexter information.
Copy. We'll do just 150 kilometers per hour, 50 meters altitude, with us at the speed of 250. James is over. Form a line on the left, so just we're in the same distance from the city, and you have a clear sight of the city.
Line up.
Dexter.
Richard.
Alright, so it's marked on the map if you want to bring it up and look, and I'll drop some blue smoke. And let's just go down the same order we had before mission. So James, whenever you're ready.
James is moving now.
So one benefit of the smoke is it helps you locate the target. The other benefit is you can see the winds. So you definitely want to try to position yourself where you're using the wind to pull it into the center. So in this case, the wind is from your left to right. So when you put the tail over the center, you would then want to maybe move to the left just a little bit to give it that drift time.
Oh, that was really bad.
So you do not have to do these moving, by the way. This is a stationary drop.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is designed to practice positioning for a stationary drop. That's not horrible, though, to be perfectly honest. For a 15-second lead time that you had to have on that, that's pretty good. So, nice job. But yeah, this is a stationary drop onto the target. So next up, Philip.
Philip moving.
So this one will be unguided, and then when we do the next one, we'll say that you have ground guidance, and we'll see if it helps you at all or not. right, not bad. It is inside the compound, and that would be easily accessible and usable by ground forces. Nice job. So you saw your helicopter is positioned right over the target, but since it came out of the tail, it was a little behind. So make sure we push forward of the target. We want to be slightly forward of the target. Richard, go ahead and come on.
Richard moving.
Very nice job. Right on target. All right, Dexter, come on in.
Moving.
Nice job, right in the compound, perfectly usable. Now let me embarrass myself real quick, and then we'll pop on down to medical.
Acknowledge me as far as Arna's getting back in you. I'll shot next.
Forgot to press my shift button, see? I hate my joystick. I highly recommend none of you ever fly in a helicopter that I'm piloting in armor.
Noted.
Alright, let's go ahead and reform up, same formation on James, and let's head on down to the medical supply drop. This one's a lot tighter. It's a smaller compound, but we have a smaller delivery. And this time I'll also be in Zeus, giving you some talk on as if I'm a ground force.
Let's just do a column. It's 700 meters away, the whole point, so do a column and we'll go 100 kilometers per hour. Same harbor, so you're right behind me, Richard, to Dexter. No further information.
Philip, information.
Preferred information.
Extra information.
Zach is pulling it out. You close.
Copy. We'll go directly south, 50 meters altitude and 100 kilometers per hour. Reporting.
Okay, whenever you're ready, James, you can go ahead and start us off again. Go ahead and come in, and I will talk you on. You can look for blue smoke too, and I need to get out of Zeus because my helicopter's drifting still. Oh, there it goes. It's stopped. And I just realized I said all that over my local and not over my radio. James, whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and come on in. We'll have blue smoke, and I'll talk you on as a ground force in Zeus.
Copy, going in.
So this one has a couple different obstacles. We have a tree, we have a building, we have several rooftops that we definitely don't want it to land on. So when you're orienting yourself on approach, you want to orient yourself to minimize that chance of both hitting something and delivering it on the rooftop.
Hawk 1 is receiving on 35.
Hawk 1 forward. Hawk 1 hold. Hawk 1 rotate nose approximately 15 degrees to the right. It's a good spot. Clear to deliver.
Hawk 1 unloading. I'm on the flight. I'm gonna try to get higher.
Seems like it is an altitude function most of the time.
Yeah, I think it works above 30 meters. Because I was under 30 and above works.
Nice job. Hawk 2, bring it on in.
2 moving.
Having to cheat and look above. of because I can't look up.
Hawk 2 on station.
Hawk 2, copy. Center yourself, and then I'll provide tweet.
Hawk 2 center.
Hawk 2, forward 10 meters. Hawk 2, keep coming forward another probably 10 meters. Hawk 2, hold. Face right, 10 more degrees. Hawk 2, forward, just about 2 meters. Hawk 2, hold. Hawk 2, deliver.
Hawk 2 delivery. Hawk 2.
I think this would be a good training to get with Alpha, Bravo, and do some work with. What altitude were you at there, Philip?
That's 4-2.
Good copy. So still, even though it wasn't right within the compound, we didn't hit any roofs. It's usable. They can run over and drag it, so that's a successful delivery. Hawk 3, go ahead and bring it on in.
Hawk 3 moving.
Note how the altitude affects things. You and James were pretty much dead on. James was slightly lower versus yours, and you can see how that wind affected it. And Hawk 3, this is ground support. Center yourself and advise when ready for walk on.
Hawk 3 centered.
Hawk 3 forward, 15 meters. Hold. And Hawk 3 clear to deliver.
Hawk 3 unloaded.
Hawk 4, we're going in.
Hawk 4.
Hawk 4, center yourself, advise when ready for a welcome.
Hawk 4 ready.
Hawk 4, forward, 20 meters. Hawk 4, forward, 20 meters. Hawk 4, forward, 5 meters. Hawk 4, hold, clear to leave.
Hawk 4 delivery.
wind just did not move yours at all. Still in the compound. Very nice. And last but not least. If someone has Zeus, feel free to walk me on if you want.
Yeah, I'm entering Zeus.
Centered and ready.
On 5, forward 1-5 meters. Hawk 5, put your nose to the left, 10 degrees. Hawk 5, clear to the left.
5 copy.
This wind is just kind of green.
Yeah, the wind's behaving differently kind of for everybody. Hey, it didn't hit the roof though. It's used corner.
Yeah, it was close.
Alright guys, for the sake of time, let's just go ahead and fly back to the airfield, land next to a Chinook, and load up your LSV into the Chinook.
Hey Zach, do you know if there's a wind indicator for a pilot?
I don't think so. Isn't there one on the ground, like Shift K or Shift J or something?
Yeah, it's on the ground. It's shift helo. Doesn't work in the helo though.
Yeah, I don't think there is a wind indicator. I might look around and see if there's a small mod we can throw in that does that. You guys.
I think that should be the. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead, James.
Yeah, I think that should be the job of the ground troops, because when you're over the drop zone, you cannot see even the smoke that should be on the ground. So the ground troops can just either use the shift kilo or drop smoke and then guide you by it. I don't think pilots should need to do it, but we can try to find more.
Yeah, that is a good point. We should probably offload that to the ground forces, because we always want our nose pointed into the wind if able. Alright, so let's go ahead and go back, land next to a Chinook, load up an LSV, and then let us know over the long range when you're ready, and we'll do the LSV.
line up, line right.
Philip, line right.
Which first?
Five Chinook 01 looks very nice.
Yeah, right. Need to get more people in the group so we can actually see the animation.
Oh yeah. Well, I guess now the most we'll ever see is 2.
Yeah.
We would need to add probably 4 more squads to get 5. Okay, so the LSVs coming out of the back of the Chinook can be a little more challenging just because they get kicked out further than the crates do, so it's not quite as right off the bat. So you want to position your ramp at the very edge of your drop zone. So if you're running into a compound, in this case it's going to be roughly east to west, give or take. You want to position it on the very far end. That way, no matter how far it comes back, it should be within the compound. So you don't want to center your helicopter. You want to get the kind of your tires in the backside of that ramp right at the edge of whatever your drop zone is. So in this case, your drop zone is going to be a rectangle, and it's going to be a compound. For the altitude on this one, I haven't had as many problems with the unloading of the vehicles getting any kind of message because it's just a scroll wheel unload. One thing to remind yourself and all of your pilots or all of your crew members as well in those vehicles, the pilots are the ones that do the unloading, not the people in the vehicles. The people in the vehicles do have the capability to unload themselves. The problem with that is if you have 2 vehicles and they both unload themselves at the same time, they will explode. Versus if the pilots press unload all vehicles, it spaces them out appropriately. So no matter what, the procedure at First Air Assault is the pilots are always the one that unloads and ejects the vehicles. So just keep that in mind if you have vehicles with passengers inside the vehicle. So let's go ahead and do HUD order again. James, whenever you're ready, go ahead and approach. I'll have blue smoke. No talk on this time. This one's going to be up to you. So face your nose the long way. Get your ramp at the start of the far end of that compound, and deliver your LSV.
James Gunnan.
So for these, we can be a little bit lower just because, like I said, I don't think that unstable air applies outside of unloading cargo. Unloading vehicles in a VIV, I don't think gets that. See how far that kicked it back? That's a beautiful drop.
Took a long time though.
Awesome. Dead center. That's perfectly usable. Very nice job. Hawk 2, bring it on in.
Hawk 2.
And James, you can go ahead and RTB or you can hang out. It's up to you. We're going to do individual flight back to the base.
Copy, I'll just hang around here.
level, not on the roof, so good job. One thing to note is your altitude is pretty high, so that wind is going to affect it a lot more. So you see that blue smoke's really pushing it across, and at the altitude that you were at, it really affected that vehicle. But you still delivered it, and it was effective, so good job. Hawk 3, go ahead and bring it on in.
Hawk 3 moving. Actually, Buzzard 3.
Buzzard Hawk. Buzzard 4.
I still think we need to change Buzzard to a one-syllable call sign.
Buzz. We'd have to change Raptor then too. So your altitude's a little higher than others, so that wind's really going to affect it. If you want to drop it from up there, that's fine. Just make sure you're compensating for your wind. It's going to be left to right off your nose. Oh, we have our first roofer of the day. So I'll post the training video and you can see what happened on that one. You rotated your nose to get it off of alignment, and that's the only reason that one ended up on the roof. So always keep your nose pointed to where the tail is the long length down. So you want to make sure that when it ejects, it has as much room as possible to go backwards. That one kicked out pretty far back, and then the wind pushed it over just enough to get it on top of the roof. Lower altitudes with the vehicles are always better, so 15, 20 meters, unless you're dropping it into a big open field. Then, big open field, we can go a little bit higher. Alright, let me give mine a shot. Alright, we got everybody here. Looks like we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. Awesome. Anything you guys want to add? Debriefing points, things you'd like to talk about?
I do have one.
Yeah.
I feel like I have done a few these pair drops, but I have done a lot of fast moving ones, like going on, for example, 150 kilometers per hour, and needing to calculate that when to drop it, when to start unloading. And we have done only stationary or very slowly moving ones. So if we could set up another training maybe sometime and do training on moving ones, because I think if there's a battlefield, for example, in the Chernar's deployment, I did a lot of fast moving ones, and it really helped. So I think we should do that.
Awesome. No, I completely agree. Today I was more focused on the confined spaces of getting into a city, and I think the next step would be to paradrop stuff in more open terrain. I definitely would like to do a joint training with Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, whoever wants to attend. Maybe even do this as a Sunday operation for like the first 2 hours as a training when we do our trainings during our operations of what supplies we have and kind of what we just did, where we go over the helicopters themselves and the supplies that they can carry and let people practice loading and unloading who haven't done it, and then do both talk ones and running paradrops. Either way, I think Zulu by themselves, the next time we do this, will be moving. It may not be next week. Next week we might do something different just to break it up, but definitely coming up soon. I think we need to do that. Yeah, that's a good point. Philip, do you have anything?
Yeah. So I had a couple of things that I wrote down, and the first one is if we are doing a paradrop and not like a landing unload, we're most likely in a situation where we're taking fire, or there's kind of a danger element to it, makes it make us unable to land and unload. And when unloading vehicles, one big advantage of doing that is that the vehicles are very mobile. They're very movable by the ground forces. So being with that, kind of what we saw with the vehicle landing on a roof, being inaccessible, and one more thing, that vehicles can actually blow up and hurt ground troops, and if they have ammunition in them, cook off and be a liability to the ground troops. Wouldn't it be better to find an open area and land and unload the vehicle instead of risking trying to paradrop it into a confined area?
Yep, it definitely would be, and that's kind of what our default should be, is to try to find a place that's either wide open and do the paradrop, or at least wide enough for us to land and undo it. However, we're not always going to have that luxury. For example, during the rehearsal, Alpha was inside a compound, and they were simulated taking fire and kind of in that compound stuck and needed a new vehicle. So there are going to be situations where we have to put it into a tight area, which is what the training was today. That's a great point, Philip. If we can avoid paradropping a vehicle, we should do so at all costs. Or at least avoid paradropping it in a city where it could potentially hit buildings or end up on a roof. So we may not be able to land, but at least get it into an open field where it won't hit buildings or end up on roofs or stuck somewhere that's inaccessible. So very good point. Richard, did you have anything?
There's nothing from me.
Okay, Dexter?
Nothing from me.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming. I'll upload this video for those that weren't able to make it. And this Sunday's operation, Rich actually just texted me. We may end up changing the mission because we just don't have a lot of ground troops. A lot of people didn't respond to roll call or are unable to make it. So we'll see what happens with the mission. Just keep an eye on the op board. But otherwise, tentatively, we're going to go ahead with the mission as it was published. So we'll see you all Sunday for those of you that can make it.